All right. Hi.
Hi, Sheroes and Heroes. Once again, our live session today a little bit delayed because Bjarke has been to the hospital. Been waiting for hours, but
I'm hurt.
no. Apart from that, just regular stuff. But yeah, let's today talk about a book we read and discussed in the book club, namely
Yeah.
The
Last-
Six Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. A really good book. We have now read it twice, and I must say you can't read it often enough because is so rich in
Yeah.
content, and there are a lot of beautiful exercises that really help boost your self-esteem and find out what self-esteem actually means and what it consists of.
And how you work with
and how you work with it. I mean, there's it's actually a lot of interrelated concepts involved in it, like responsibility, integrity, assertiveness,
I'll get
consciousness.
into the details a bit in just a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Bjarke will give you a little summary, and then we dive into the exercises we have prepared for the book club.
Yeah. So, by the way, the book club was last Saturday, and it was really great. I mean, people were really talkative and also went really deep into their stories, which is something that I think is really important for us in this book club, that people share personal stories and to really get something out of it, because Herociety is all about learning your own story and telling your own stories to know yourself, to explore who you are on a deeper level, and those deeper stories. That, I mean, that's also a practice to try to tell your own story. That's a good practice, because then eventually you'll learn your own values and who you really are. So let's dive a bit into the book Six Pillars of Self-Esteem. So basically, in the beginning, Nathaniel Branden, he talks about like what is self-esteem and what is it not. So the four main questions he asks is: what is self-esteem? Why is it important? What can we do to raise self-esteem, and what other factors influence, like externally factors influence our self-esteem? And so that's basically the internal factors, our own person. How do we value our self-esteem, and how does that incorporate into our individual lives and personality? And then there are the external factors, like the environment around us, the people around us, the workplace, our parents, everything around us. And he also mentions some dangers, that we should not oversimplify the issue of self-esteem. We should not think that it's just like fixed like that, and then it's something you don't need to work on anymore. It's a lifelong practice, so to speak. On the other hand, we should not. That's also the danger number two. We should not surrender to fatalism. That it's so overwhelming that we cannot do anything about our self-esteem. Like, actually, the first kind of small step we should take is to take responsibility for our own lives, and by doing that and being conscious and making that as a conscious choice, we are already on the right path of more self-esteem, because then we notice where we might be lacking or where we are not satisfied, and we start listening to all the signals, our feelings and stuff like this, which in the end is something that we can then work on and practice on by implementing habits and so on. So yeah, before I go on a ramble, let's continue with the book. So in the book, he mentioned those 6 pillars that are, according to Nathaniel, the foundation of our self-esteem. And those 6 pillars are living consciously. That's the first pillar. Consciously meaning that we are aware of our bodies, of our thinking, of our feelings, of our environment, what we're doing, why we're doing it. So we don't just like go through life with blinds on and not think about why we do the things we're doing and what we're doing. Also, we are try to be present in every moment and think about, like, what is it? I mean, you need to know what you're doing before you can change anything. So you need to be aware and be present. That's like kind of the first step. The second pillar is self-acceptance. So he says without self-acceptance, self-esteem is not possible. So we need to accept the body that we have, accept the mind that we have with the capabilities and limitation and everything. Because if we cannot accept it, then we don't believe. We kind of don't believe that we're there, and that's kind of the first step to change something. You need to know where you are, and you have to accept where you are in order to change that. So
especially hard when you think about accepting your limitations.
that's really
or
hard.
you look in the mirror and you see something you don't like, and then you have to think, yes, I know I don't like this at the moment, but I accept that I don't like it, or I accept that this is the way it is right now.
Yeah.
This can be one of the, I mean, one thing is being conscious, and the other thing is really taking it as it is and accepting it like it is.
Yes, exactly. And he actually mentioned that if you can't accept something concretely, then maybe you can accept that you cannot accept that fact. So like for example, maybe I'm in some certain situation, I'm always angry, but I cannot accept the fact that I'm angry in that situation. But then maybe I can accept that I do not accept that I'm angry in that situation. And that can be kind of a helper to start teaching your mind about acceptance, that you can accept some parts of yourself. Maybe you can accept that you don't accept some part of yourself, but that's just a starting point to get there in the end. So yeah. The third pillar is self-responsibility. So yes, self-responsibility is like a reflection, and also at the same time an expression of our self-esteem. So it's all about taking responsibility for the actions that we're doing, and also for yourself, for your own well-being, that you don't surrender to this kind of mindset that I can't do anything about a given situation. It's up to them, to the government, to my parents, to the school, to my workplace, whoever. Like we blame, and we need to stop blaming, and then start to think about what can I do? What kind of choices do I have in this situation to do something about it on my own? And that's kind of what self-responsibility is all about. And the fourth pillar is called self-assertiveness. So that's about seeking to express ourselves in the reality, to be heard, basically, without being aggressive and limit the potentials of other people. Is still we need to be aware that we don't limit ourselves. So it's a balance between like limiting yourself and limiting others in a way. Maybe that's a bit abstract, but basically, if we have like a good capability of expressing ourselves in a given situation, so we feel heard without hurting other people, that's good, because then we can express what we want and what we're doing, and that's a part of self-esteem.
I mean, mostly we are either submissive or dominant.
Yeah.
But being assertive is something in between, right?
Yes. Yeah. So not being dominant and just saying to like being bossy and
try to be right,
micromanaging all your employees, but also on the hand not being submissive and just let other people rule your life. I mean, that's also limiting your potential for self-esteem, because then you don't have any you don't believe that you're able to control yourself in a way, because you're never expressing yourself in a way. So
it's sort of just like saying expressing who you are and what you want, but not trying to be right or to dominate anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right. And the fifth pillar is living purposefully. And I mean, one quote from the book is, if you want it to work, you must make it your conscious choice to make it work. So basically what living purposefully is all about is making a choice and making a conscious choice about where you're going. And that can mean making setting plans for yourself, setting goals, implementing habits, and being really like, for all your listeners out there, probably you know about SMART goals, so that goals can be measured and timely and everything, so that you know if you fulfill your goal or not. So like being really specific, concrete about where you're heading, because the more concrete you are, the easier it is to get there. And the sixth pillar is personal integrity. So that's the kind of the integration of all your ideals, convictions, beliefs, behaviors, values, everything that you believe in. So that, like, if you have a high level of integrity, you say what you think and you do what you're saying. So it's basically everything is aligned in your life, and you're honest with yourself, you're honest with others, and you keep your promises. I mean, I think we're not always there. I know from my own life, it's difficult to always have a high level of integrity, but it's like also working on that to try to work on your integrity, because when we have like kind of, he calls it congruency, like when everything is kind of aligned in your life, it becomes easier. You don't need to lie to anyone or to yourself even, that because you know where you're going and you know that you can go there and you know that you're trying your best to go there, disregarding what your best is in a given situation. And then he talks a bit about the external factors of self-influence, which I won't cover here, but then in the end, he kind of mentions a secret seventh pillar of self-esteem, which is perseverance, which is that never to give up, accept that like it's a lifelong journey, and you will always be working on that. And also that those six pillars are influenced by self-esteem, but they're also influencing self-esteem. So basically, if you want to practice self-esteem, you can start with practicing each of those six pillars. In turn, you will have a higher level of self-esteem, but with that high level of self-esteem, it will be easier for you to then practice those six pillars. So it's always like it's kind of a positive feedback loop, so to speak, and like a spiral going upwards all the time. Yeah.
And this is also, I think, where the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, a book we talked about in the previous book club,
in January,
and this one meet.
Yeah.
As far as the Four Agreement, that is always do your best.
Exactly. Yeah. And where the best, doing your best, not mean perfectionism, but rather that we should accept that we are always trying our best. If we don't feel that we did the best, we still did the best in that given situation. We should. That's kind of also a self-acceptance thing. But then knowing that we're trying and we should be trying, like
that's an encouraging thought, because you can, if you accept that you always just try to do your best and leave the past to the past and try to live in the present.
Yeah.
Then you don't. Then it gets easier to just keep on going without resigning yourself to just giving up and
exactly,
giving it over to fate, so to speak.
So exactly. And with that said, I think we can maybe do some exercises. What do you think?
Yeah, and you can jump right in. When we read the book, or when we read any of the books we read for the book club, then we always try to find some exercises to dig deeper into the book and to encourage people to tell personal stories and to relate the book content to their own life. And also it helps us to relate it to our own lives and really see how does this book relates to us on a personal level, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we will go. So if you missed the book club, or if you attended the book club and want to do the exercises again, or if you're live here right now, you can do the exercises, put some comments in the chat, or if you do it later, then you can just put a comment below or do it for yourself. It's your choice, basically. But we'll go through the 4 exercises, and we will give you a bit of time to answer those as well. Well, we will be making our own answers as an example, and then you can think of your own answer in the meantime. So the first kind of exercise is like, when did you last punish yourself for being happy? Do you have some story related to the last time that you punished yourself for being happy? Yeah, do you want to answer that?
Oh, well, I have to think about that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think it happens a lot of times now in Corona times. It also came up in the book club, people punishing themselves for being happy in Corona times, for like using this time to do personal development, to do something else. I often get this when I talk to people. Oh, I just want to get out of Corona, and I want to get out of the flat and meet with people, and I totally get it. For me personally, when the first lockdown was in April last year, 2020, I thought, well, if I lose my job, if I lose my freelance projects, then what I really want to do is to learn more. So I took a speaker course, an online speaker course, and I was really happy with that. While everybody around me was kind of buzzed and downcast, and I didn't precisely punish myself for that, but I tried not to let it show too much that I was feeling actually quite good with myself, because I was using this time productively, in a productive way, or at least in a way that I liked. I took the best that I could out of this situation.
And how do you feel that in during the book club that you mentioned, many people were actually doing this? So it seems that people that have some is part of are doing some personal development, or are like courageous or energetic enough to see every crisis as an opportunity. They took this Corona off time or lockdown time to work on themselves, and like, so there were many responses that they actually took courses or started some other journey in their lives during this lockdown. So how does that make you feel after you heard those stories?
I think it was really great, because I mean, if it's like this, because when you have a crisis, then you have the choice to either let this totally overcome you, just wallow in this crisis and say to yourself, oh, you can't do anything, as many people do. And I'm really familiar with that, because I'm blind. People often tell me what I can and can't do. And it's really tempting to think, well, maybe they're right. If everybody thinks so, even though they're not in the same situation, then it must be right, right? No, I think it doesn't have to be, right? And I don't think you need to wallow in this. I think a crisis always is a very good opportunity to turn it around.
Start from scratch, to build something new.
And this is the actually one of the best call to adventures. I mean, a hero's journey always starts with a crisis, right?
That's true. So maybe it's your call of adventure as well.
I don't think you need to be ashamed if you're happy.
No, but it was a good story. Thanks.
Thanks. So the next exercise was to think about your greatest value, because your values are very much related to your level of self-esteem. The more you know about your values, what you cherish, what you also whom you cherish, and what you want to spend your time with, what is important to you,
Yeah.
the better you will be able to structure your life in a manner that you yourself like best.
Yeah, and I'll answer that one. It was actually funny to see that it was difficult for people in the book club to answer that question, but I think it's an important one to answer, and maybe also take some time. I mean, maybe you don't come up with an answer right away. I definitely haven't have a final answer myself yet, but I'll tell you a short story. So, for like almost 20 years, I've been working with software development, and like ever increasing like amount of work, but also responsibility and areas of competence inside the software development and IT projects, like also like co-founding some startups. I've been in small startups and medium startups and also bigger companies as an employee. And later in my career, I've been like doing like hiring other team members also for this. So it's being a growing kind of career path, if you can call it like that, like walking up a kind of mountain and you see this beautiful mountaintop up there and you say, "Yeah, this is the direction I'm going." But then one day, kind of waking up and looking over the landscape and seeing, well, there's also other mountains out there. There's also this mountaintop over there that looks pretty, and feeling kind of drawn to that. That was definitely my own feeling, that for me, software is something that in the end it should help people. And usually software is used to automate processes and make businesses run smarter and more efficiently. And I hope also help people in their daily kind of operations in businesses. But it's not the whole story, because what is missing is like what people actually do with their lives and what the business actually do with the profits, and what kind of products they actually sell and how they do it, how the whole workplace is organized, and all of this stuff. So I started looking into this and felt that software doesn't is just like a 1% kind of solution to all of these issues. And there's so many things in the world that I actually want to kind of change or actually look into in a way that I'm drawn to, because it's important for me. And that's why I started to look into coaching. So I'm working on becoming an upcoming coach, and well, it's a lot of work, a lot of learning, and it's definitely a different career path. But I hope that I can kind of help people in a deeper, more connected, and a more meaningful way than just automating everything. Even though that's also one of my beliefs, that our society is becoming more automated for sure, and we have to come to grips with that in some way or another. But if we look behind that, what kind of what do people want to use the free time for, and what do people want to do with their lives? That's what I'm interested in, and that's what I'm working on. So one of my greatest values is to serve people and find out how how I can help people live more fulfilling lives.
So for you, finding out about your or one of your biggest values led to following a totally new career path
For
in a
sure.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely changed my life in many ways, because I also started looking into personal development, and then I noticed many parts of myself that I kind of had neglected before. And in the beginning, it can be kind of a shock that how much that you can not look on your own life in many ways for a very long time. then you suddenly wake up and start to become more conscious about your choices and your actions and your thinking and your feelings and everything. And it takes some time, I guess, to go on that path and wake up, so to speak, and figure out what to do about it. What kind of choices do you want to make? I definitely not there yet. I still have many things to decide and learn, but I'm also curious and like about everything. So it's really interesting also.
And I really like this metaphor about the mountaintops. That's really good.
Thank you.
So if you have difficulties finding your values, if you think this exercise is a little bit in concrete in a way, you might be right, but you might want to try to think about a situation where two of your values clash. For example, you have to finish a piece of work, you have a deadline, but then you also need to go to your son or daughter's theater play in a way. Something like this.
So what do you choose?
What do you choose, and why do you choose it? This might be a more concrete way to find out what, when it comes to it, is more important to you.
Yeah, that's a good exercise. And if you can't come up with those two, then there's like Google some list of core values. There are hundreds of them, and then start to filter out all of those that you don't like connect with immediately, and then find those that you connect with. Then you can start putting them up against each other. Yeah. So let's move on to the third exercise. So third sentence is like kind of a time when you admitted that a mistake was your fault.
Yeah, well, I have a story about that one. It's a few years ago, I visited my mother for dinner. We live in Berlin, and my parents live out in suburbia, in the suburbs of Berlin, and it's quite a long tour, quite a long trip all the time, and often there are problems with the train. Like this day, there was a kind of the train just didn't go any further. So I called my mother, and we were just one stop away from the station we were supposed to be. So so we got off the train, and I called my mother, and I told her that we will just walk. And she says, of course, my father wanted to get us with the car, but he was already waiting at the station, and he has this habit of never taking a mobile phone with him. So really hard to reach. So we were already on our way walking. It was quite a long walk actually still, but and then halfway my mother called me and said, well, your father is waiting for you at the station. We just left. And I told her, no, we already walked. And she was upset because we didn't wait. So after 20 minutes or so, half an hour perhaps, we arrived at home, at my parents' home, and everybody was really, really upset. And I was upset because my parents had discussed, had an argument about me. Well, they were kind of the same opinion that I was stupid for not having been waiting for them. And I tried to just make myself be heard, but they didn't want to. They didn't want to listen to me. So it ended with my father walking up the stairs, going to his room, and my mother just closing the kitchen door. And I yelled through the door that I don't think this was a fair behavior. And so nobody wanted to listen to me, and I was so upset that I just left. And I was really sad on the way home, and the whole remainder of the day and the next week also, until I had a chat with my mother-in-law, and I told her about this situation, and she actually made me see the situation my mother had been in. I mean, it was her. She had invited a lot of people later to dinner, and she was upset because I haven't been there. There were problems with the train, so we were delayed and we came late, and so she was probably upset with that. And when I realized that, yeah, you could see it in this light, then it still took me 2 more weeks to screw up my courage and call my mother and say, well, let's just forget about this. It's it's a stupid argument, and it doesn't matter anymore anyway. So let's just forget it. And so I didn't really think that this was a mistake that I made. I mean, choosing to walk instead of waiting for the train, or waiting for my father, who I didn't even know was coming. But I took responsibility for like making up with my mother at that point. So I said, this is a mistake, not talking, and this is not a mistake worth fighting over and being upset over.
Oh, yeah. What a great story and a deep story.
That's
And
also a long story.
And for a long time, but like, it makes me curious, like, do you believe that in familiar like relationships, like with our parents or with our older children, that it's more difficult to admit our mistakes than in general, or it doesn't matter who it is?
I think the older you get, the more you have this kind of you develop this assumption and this agreement with yourself, perhaps, that you know more because you have lived longer. And in a way, this is also right. Of course, you have lived longer, but at some point, you need to admit to yourself that younger people have totally different experiences. They grow up in a different way. This is true for every generation.
Yeah.
I just think it's a mistake to think that you know best. And yeah, this is also something related to self-esteem, actually, because you don't need to be right to be, for example, assertive. You just need to be assertive in a way, to be authentic.
Yes, yeah, that's true. And we should also be, what I hear from you is we should also be aware of the generational like clip or whatever, like that could be that we either feel kind of submissive in this kind of relationship because we're younger, or maybe we feel that we should know more in this, like whatever it is, like we should be conscious about that, and then it might help resolve the issues faster.
Yeah, there's also a lot about, well, not a lot, but there's something in the book about helping younger people, especially children, to develop self-esteem. But you don't help them develop self-esteem by saying, you are so and so. For example, you are stupid, and what you do is stupid, and I know best.
Now I feel great. So what do you do? What should you then do? Like,
well, he suggests that you well, and encourage them in another way. You say, for example, a child did something you approved of. They cleaned up their room, for example, and say, oh, it looks so nice here, right? I'm so glad you did that. Thank you. This was a difficult task and you did it.
Yeah. So you don't put a label on them, you just acknowledge what they did, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
This is much better than, in the Four Agreements, Ruiz also criticizes that we often treat our children as if they were dogs. You're a good girl or you're a bad boy.
Yeah,
So this is a label.
that's true. Yeah.
And I often get this. I mean, though you are you are this or that. For example, I often get that. Well, you are a blogger. When I don't feel as if yes, I am blogging. Sometimes
Yes.
I'm writing. That doesn't make me a blogger all the time, but if I get this label, I feel as if I am supposed to be that
Yeah,
all the time.
I mean, it doesn't like, so this kind of area of your career doesn't take over your whole identity, kind of. You're a blogger, now I have to be like, wear headphones, I have long hair.
Like... It's the same with where you say something more sinister than like you're stupid.
Yeah.
You don't feel as if you're just stupid in this situation because the people
you generalize.
You love said so. You always feel stupid.
Yeah. Don't do that. Okay.
Well,
I think let's move on to the last.
Yeah, but okay, let's try to wrap it up quickly. We have already talked for such a long time. So the last exercise would be, when was the last time, or think of a time when you acted a little bit hypocritically, when your words didn't match your actions, for example, or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, let's. I won't tell a deep story about that because we have to wrap it up. But for sure, when I was younger, I was I was very perfectionist, and I was very curious about everything, and also I just loved to be involved in everything, and I could not say no. I was very shy of or afraid of conflicts, even like to the point that I just said yes to everything, even though I couldn't hold up my promises. I just made so many promises that I kind of felt bad and had to like go a step back. And yeah, I mean, maybe I've even felt like a bit like socially awkward because I had to face my consequences of saying yes to everything, but didn't hold up that, yes, I will write that article. Yes, I will help organize this event. Yes, I will go to this meeting and talk for 1.5 hours about something and stuff like this, that I didn't have that much time, to be honest. I mean, I pushed a lot, but I couldn't do that much. So I'm definitely in a better place nowadays, but it's something I'm working on all the time.
Sounds like this is related to your desire to serve.
Could be, yeah. But I can't serve everyone, unfortunately. But
yeah, you need to choose your battles.
Exactly.
We all do. We have limited a limited wealth of.
I would say it's even related to values, because maybe I haven't at that time chosen my values because I believed at that time I was so curious about the world that I could be curious about anything at all. So there were kind of no limitations to what I could be involved in, which makes it difficult to filter out anything. So yeah, I mean, it's something that at least I had to develop over time, this feeling of what do I want to be involved in, what do I not want to be involved in. No.
Yes. Well, this is in the end what we got out of this book. There's so much more. There's so much more. Actually, it's a quite short book, but you can get so much out of this. And he has developed a lot of his own exercises, like mostly some STEM exercises where you have a sentence stem or a STEM sentence, and you just fill out the rest and brainstorms what comes to mind, and this really helps. I did this for some time, and I tried these exercises. I think they are really, really good, and if you want to, just try them out. And also if you want to, the next book club will be about The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp. It's all about how to be creative, how to consciously develop traditions, rituals around being creative, because in the end, being creative is not just something that comes to you, but something you have to develop consciously. So the next time will be
I think it's 27th of March.
So it's a Saturday at 7 p.m. CET. Yeah, Central European Time.
Yes, exactly. I think that's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But if you want to get notified about all of our upcoming book clubs, they're free for everyone to join, by the way. You can just sign up at herociety.com/book club. And I will put the link in the description below. And if you're interested to know more about what Herociety is all about storytelling, learning yourself, then go to herociety.com.
Yeah, for example, we now have the Heroes coaching in.
Yes. It's coming up. It's not online yet, but
it's not online yet, but you can write to Bjarke. It's Bjarke@herociety.com.
Yeah.
And Bjarke is BJARKE at Herociety, HEROCIETY.com. I got it.
It was like
I spelled it right.
Drunk test or something.
Well, put it in.
I will put it in the description below as well. And this hero coaching is very interesting for everyone to learn more about where they are in their lives. And we will talk about the hero's journey. Where are you on your hero's journey? What is it that your call of adventure is? And where are you heading? Which journey are you on? Where are you going? What are the obstacles? And how can we resolve those obstacles? It's pay as much as you want model. So yeah, it's basically you choose the price and we coordinate, we find a time that works, and then we'll do the coaching.
So just for now, just write to Bjarke@herociety.com if you are interested.
Exactly.
And otherwise, we have our live session every Friday around 5 p.m. and we try to be punctual always.
See you next time.
See you.